Hello and welcome. Today we've got David Mahoney, and today we are going to be discussing Operation London Bridge, the ship that sunk in Moscow, and also Zelensky's net worth and assets. Now, just before we begin, you can subscribe to our Telegram channels and to nicholasveniamin.com for my free email updates. And if you're watching this for the first time on YouTube, I will leave the link below in the description for the full interview, unless, of course, myself and David can choose our words wisely due to the insane censorship that's happening right now. David, thank you for joining me, sir. How are you and what have you been up to?
Very good, Nick. Nice to see you again. It's been another 2 weeks flown by. I've been crazy busy with more and more demand for more and more truth content. You've got to really get on top of things, and things are happening so fast now. It's taken a lot of my time to just keep up with what things are moving. But a couple of interesting things since I spoke to you and your followers last time, Nick. I had a very interesting meeting with a new friend of mine. Now, I have to be careful how I talk about this, guys, only because I don't want to give away the identity. But for the last 20 years, this person has been in charge of a majority of the equipment that they need for the Queen's funeral. So it's not just going to be a normal day, Nick. Obviously, they've got to set it all up. They've got to go outside. There's going to be a huge parade through the streets, and they need a lot of different equipment to pull this sort of thing off. If you think about the royal weddings, how planned they are and what they need. But there's very specific equipment that's needed for a funeral. Now, I can't say what the equipment is because it will give away the identity. But let me tell you this story. For the last 20 years, this friend of mine has been given the contract for this equipment, and it's been stored for 20 years. Now, once a year, they get an official representative of the UK government come around and they check it. They have a little look. And they'll see everything okay. You say, yeah, that's all it here. You can see it's still there. They said, okay. And they get paid for it. Now, this year in February, I was told by this person that all of a sudden there was a huge fluttering of activity. There wasn't just one person that came from this government agency that monitors this. There was several. And they appeared over the course of 3 or 4 days. And they instructed this person that they had to get all the equipment out, they had to clean it all, paint it all, and then put it all together. So they did that. When it was inspected, they said, okay, it's not enough. We need to increase this by 50%. What you had here was based on older technology. Now we want to move into something different. We need more of this equipment. And we'd like you to bring it to this certain place and reassemble it there for final inspection. My new friend said, well, okay, but that's going to be about 50 grand. And the guy from the government responded, no problem. Give us your invoice. We're going to pay you tomorrow. So they paid him straight away. And he was pushed and pushed and pushed to assemble this equipment, clean it, assemble it, and they had to paint a lot of it. And then to put it all in a great big warehouse, a hangar, so they could all be inspected and then increase the equipment to more of what he originally had. So it tells me that they're not going to be doing that, Nick, unless they've got some pretty good intel about the Queen's passing, because no one's really seen her for a long time now. I heard the other day that she's in a wheelchair. I think she's been dead for over 2 years. I just don't think they've announced it. During the COVID, there was some very strange activities with her being seen in the same outfits 3-4 times in a row. There was that old guy called Tom. He was a soldier that he's walking around the garden. Do you remember him? Mm-hmm. Well, he was raising money for the national health. But when she gave him a knighthood, when at the ceremony, there was no band and no fanfare, no big party as there normally is. And the 2 guys in uniform next to the Queen, the uniforms didn't fit them. They were too big. They were hanging down over the knuckles. I noticed this. So I don't think that's been the Queen that's been doing these semi-public appearances. Right. So, go on. You look like you're going to say something.
Well, I want to ask you something. Before. So you're saying that this gentleman that you've known for 20 years has now been given instructions by the government, to install certain. We won't use the word, but certain
equipment
equipment
Yeah.
to position cameras.
Well, I think it's that. I don't think, you see, I can't go too far. I haven't known him 20 years. I was introduced to him recently, but I'm doing some work with him on this. I'm doing some of the spiritual work. He's very, very clued up. He's very awake. He's very, very smart about something else I'm doing. And he happened to mention it. And I was digging. He said, yeah, it was weird because all of a sudden, all these government officials were popping around all the time. There was phone calls, there was cards, there was demands and lists and faxes and emails. He said it was weird. So he hasn't told me exactly what. Well, he has, but I can't say it because he's the only one that has got this equipment. So as soon as we say the equipment, they're going to know. So that's why I'm being secretive. And it's freaking him out as well because he's like, we've never had this before. Now all of a sudden they want it painted, assembled, tested, and increased because it's not enough for what they're expecting they want to do or what the plan is. Mm-hmm. Now, this comes to the next point. If we're all following Nisara and Jisara, they need an extremely good cover, something that's going to distract the entire world while this all kicks off. And I think this is going to be it. I think it's going to be the announcement of the Queen's death. And while everybody was looking over here, I think all of the banking and all of the humanitarian funds are going to be put into place where we're over here, because none of us thought we'll be watching the Queen's funeral. And it's the perfect distraction for something to go on behind the scenes. That's what you need. You need a smoke screen so it covers up and camouflage what's really going on. I've got a feeling that's what it's going to be. And I hope soon.
Did your friend tell you exactly the location where he's going to be placing the equipment?
Yeah. I can't say that either. But it's not London. It's not London.
Is it in this country?
Yeah, it's in your country, not in my country. It's in the UK, yeah.
In the UK. Is it up in up north or up?
I'm not telling you anymore. I keep saying it's secretive. You keep pushing and badgering. But I know it's true. And he's not the type of guy that make it up. He would have no reason to make it up. And he says, if you want to see it, I'll show you. And he's got,
okay. Don't tell us the location, but how far, describe us, what kind of roads will the...
I don't know. It's equipment, right? It could be anything. What about, I'll give you some...
What's the radius?
It could be barriers to stop the crowds from pushing forward. That would be considered equipment. It could be seating arrangements for when they get to a certain part of the tour, of the route. You could have seating arrangements for thousands of people because thousands of people would go out for that. It could be lighting if they're going to happen at nighttime. It could be a number of different things. But let's just say it's crowd control barriers. We'll just say that so people can get an idea of what it is. It's all about the thousands of people that are going to be on the street, and they need this equipment to keep law and order and to get the event to have it run smoothly. So I honestly can't say. I can see you pushing me, but I can't tell you anymore.
But how do you know this is for the Queen? I mean, how do we know that Michael Jackson's not going to turn up?
Well, we don't, but it's specifically on all the paperwork that he's been paid for storage for the last 20 years. He says this is always going to be for her funeral. So it was always known. And his father started the business and handed it to him. So they've been getting paid for storing this equipment for 20 years without a problem. April, they get paid usually when the taxes are done, So
do you think she will see through the Jubilee this August?
No. I don't think. I think she's gone already. And Prince Philip was gone way before that. So it's the perfect distraction. It's probably going to be the world's biggest funeral. For those that remember Ronald Reagan, that was a big funeral, but this will be the biggest event. And it's the most perfect event to disguise what's really going on in the background. If Nisara be implemented in that particular week, what better way to do it without everybody looking, because the whole world will be looking at what's going on in the UK with the Queen's official state funeral.
It will be the biggest satanic funeral. What do you think?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, they'll be trying to cover it up. I think she did a deal, though. I think Trump forced her to do a deal because she left Buckingham Palace and she's never been back. Why would you not go back? I mean, all the restrictions are cancelled in the UK now. There's no masks, there's no vaccine mandates. It's all done. So why would you not go back? to Buckingham Palace. It's just empty, desolate. There's nothing in there. They're not doing anything with it.
I say the four pillars of the cabal is the Federal Reserve, the royal family, the pharmaceutical, and I think I've missed one out, the Vatican.
Yeah.
And
Well, there's three arms. You've got the religious, the legal, and the military, the financial.
Mm-hmm.
So London controls all the finances. That's why it's the city of London, city of DC, Vatican City. They're all independent sovereign areas. So they're not governed by the same rules, although most people don't know that. So I'm watching that carefully, that story, Nick.
I feel like the first layer is crumbling, and then that would be the domino effect. But that isn't to say that there aren't minions around and other different layers of the cabal, but the top one's been taken out and it's crumbling, as we can see with the Federal Reserve. We see with the Vatican even. What do you know about the Vatican?
Well, we know it starts there, doesn't it? Bring us your souls, bring us your souls. The Vatican have always been the spiritual side of it, because it's important you control people with a religion, whether it's Muslim or Judaism or Catholicism. You've got to control the people by having them in fear of what happens after you die. So the Vatican have been pumping that out. They've been terrifying old ladies for years, and millions of people have left all their property and assets to the church, and they've just been getting more and more powerful. And it's the creepiest place. If you see, well, you can go into any church, all of the statues and the drawings and the art. I mean, there's some horrific religious art of men being torn apart and all sorts of sexual depravity in the painting. I have no respect for them at all, because I think they're just hypocritical liars. For God's sake, you can't get, priests can't get married. It deliberately, a man cannot go without having his sexual urges. The same for women. It's unnatural. You've got to have a partner. You've got to have some relief like that. So you can't go your whole life not being sexually active. I mean, 99% of people, they have to be doing it. It's natural. It's part of this. It's procreation. You can't force that. And what they do is they turn it into sin, don't they? They turn it into Catholic guilt. So, oh God, I shouldn't be doing that, shouldn't be doing this. But look how many priests were brought up on sexual indecency charges and found out from the church it was just a breeding ground for behind closed doors interfering with little boys. Usually the priest had a sweet tooth for.
Well, you said it, it was something very important. You made a statement there about being natural, and it's very important. We cannot, dismiss the nature of, being with someone, and that's a big thing that they're trying to tamper with and make it, right now with everything else that's going on with gender politics and
it's ridiculous. It's this reverse culture, And if you think about what else they're trying to do, look at there's quite a few politicians, you'd be surprised, that are actually transgender and transsexual. I mean, they put them in positions of power, but oh, poor them, I mean, you can't do that. These people need to be, you can't put someone in power that's corruptible. You've got to have someone that's got a strong moral fiber that can't be bribed or coerced or tricked. It's the next point I was going to jump onto is how bad these politicians are. Some of the net worth of these people. I came across two today. I mean, I could go through a lot more, but Jacinta Ardern, and she's the Prime Minister or President of New Zealand at the moment. And last year, her net wealth was 800,000 New Zealand dollars. Okay. But now, after 2 years of COVID, she's now worth 25 million. So where's all the extra money come from? How has she made 25 million during a pandemic lockdown, and her salary was only $470,000? That's what she gets.
Let's refer to the big C as the lockdowns, just to avoid the censorship on YouTube. Mm-hmm. Absolutely, it's a disgrace with these cabal. They've made organizations like printing organizations where they put stickers everywhere and arrows in supermarkets, airports, you name it. And they've made millions, if not billions.
Absolutely. I just realized my mic was unplugged. They're all at it. And I mean, Zelensky, have you seen his net worth, right? the president of the Ukraine, he wasn't a politician before, he was an actor, and not a very good one. He was a comedian actor. So he owns a $35 million mansion in Florida, and he's got 1.2 billion in overseas bank accounts, okay? He owns 15 homes, 3 private jets, and has a monthly income of $11 million. And you're saying this isn't corrupt? You know, where's all that money coming from? Why would a country like Ukraine be paying the president like that? There's stuff in the pockets. Another great one was somebody was filming in Vienna, which is very close to the Ukraine, about all the really, really high-end cars that are now all in this part of Europe, on Ukrainian plates, you know, G-Wagons, Mercedes, Porsches, Lambos. They've got all of these 4x4s and custom stuff. There's that much money pouring out of the Ukraine. Now they're all leaving. But how did these people get all this sort of money, this wealth? Because the average salary in the Ukraine is about $300-400 a month, you know. They earn nothing. But yet you've got hundreds of thousands of people that are very, very wealthy. There's no class settlement. There's people starving in the streets, but these other guys like the President Zelensky, who was getting $11 million a month as a salary for being the president of that country.
That's disgusting.
Well, you know, you got to say, yet none of the Western media are talking about any of this. Oh, no, that's totally normal. 25 million Jacinta Ardern made in 2 years during COVID. Where did that come from? Was it bribes? Of course it's bribes, man. We all know the big pharma are going down there saying, you do this, you do that, we'll give you this.
And that's why they can't get out, some of them. They've got everything there, everything paid for, big money. They've got private jets, properties, everything they want. They can't give it up because they're weak.
Yeah, and they're all being blackmailed as well, but they just want more. They want more and more and more. The whole thing going on in the Ukraine now, I follow a lot of the stats and figures, and there's 6,000 military vehicles that have been involved in this, and 2,200 of them have been destroyed. So every couple of days, the Russian general that's in charge of this specialized operation, he comes out and he tells you how much equipment they've destroyed of the Ukrainians. And there's thousands of them, like 6,000 trucks they've destroyed. So they just cannot go on losing this sort of men and equipment. It's just Russia just going to keep throwing everything at it. They can't hold out. So I can't see it going on a lot longer, Nick, to be honest, because even if America gives them 100 tanks, Russia would take them 3-4 days to take them out, because they've got air superiority, they've got the intel, they've got all the intelligence to do it, and the equipment. Americans now are not stupid. They know that they're being pushed into this hatred of Russia, but they don't want another war. Most people still remember the harrowing scenes of body bags coming back from Afghanistan and Iraq. Americans don't want a war. They know it doesn't go anywhere. All this anti-Russian feeling that's being pushed around the world now. And the ruble's gone up 30%. It dropped when they put the sanctions. Now it's gone back up again. It's gained back all of its strength. The Americans and the Europeans, especially Germany and UK, are still buying butane gas from them as fuel, but now they have to pay in gold-backed currency. So Putin's, it's very clever what he's done. We were going to talk about that ship as well. The ship was called the Moscow, but it's written in Russian, so it's a hard word to say. But it was a very large warship in the Baltic, Nick, that sank. There's about 550 guys on there. But the Russians haven't said anything about it. Now, the Americans have released a statement saying, yeah, it was hit by 2 missiles. But the Russians said, no, there was no missiles. They were investigating it. They're still trying to figure out if it was sabotage by somebody on board the ship. Was it an explosion internally? Because they were firing off a lot of charges, missiles, and maybe one of them didn't get off the ship on time, cause an internal fire and explosion. But I think it did sink, and they pulled everybody off it. So now those 500 and odd sailors are all being interrogated. before the Russians say anything about it publicly. That's what they're like. They're very smart, the Russians. So I can't see the Russia-Ukrainian situation going on much longer simply because they don't have the equipment or the manpower. If you look at the figures, Russia recruits every year 134,000, 150,000 troops. They recruit, they train them. So everybody in Russia has been in the army. They have a draft, conscription. So they put them in the army for a year, and then if they want to stay on, they can sign to stay on them or go back. But you've got to be in college or have a good job to not go in military service. But he doesn't send those recruits to the front, you see. The guys at the front are hardened, battle-worn warriors. And now they've joined up with a lot of these Chechen who just look like total nutcases. Most of the Chechens are Islamic, Muslim. So you got these Russians shooting rockets, shouting Allah Akbar. So it's quite a strange thing to watch it, but they're very well trained as well, the Chechens, and they've been brought in. So let's hope it ends quickly, Nick, yeah?
Well, yeah, I mean, it looks like the next big thing that's going to happen is the Queen's death and the gold standard being implemented in all the other countries, despite that the ruble has been backed now by gold. It looks like this is still draining off the swamp when we're looking at...
Absolutely. Get rid of these draining of the swamp.
Exactly. It's all happening. And it's going in the right direction. Has there been delays? Maybe. I think that there's many different, variations of how the plan's going to go, depending on how, the deep state behave, because human behavior is unpredictable.
Absolutely.
But this is a military operation.
Absolutely. Military operation that's going to change everybody's lives forever. And it makes sense. I can feel that. Because somebody said, I wonder, is the Operation London Bridge is what they officially call it when the Queen is passed. Because there's a whole load of protocols that the UK government and all of the Commonwealth countries around the world all have to follow. So it would be the biggest distraction. And that's the only thing that makes sense to me, because either that they're going to do at the electronic or the emergency broadcast system. But I've never really liked that idea about the EBS thing, because I think it'll just terrify people. If all of a sudden you get a message on your phone and it's making that horrible siren noise, this is an emergency broadcast, we're here to terrify you. And I think all these older people in the 70s and 80s would just, they'd have a heart attack. I think doing it this way, no one's going to get hurt. We can all do it behind the scenes while everyone's crying at the television sets. It would be, I cannot think of a larger event that would distract them, maybe a fake alien invasion. But that's going to terrify people as well, because the White Hats do not want to make anything worse. They don't want to terrify people, make them any more scared than they are already in this current state of alarm. Food shortages are coming up, gas prices. I get asked that all the time on my show, Mahoney, how are you preparing for the food shortage? I said, I'm not doing anything. I'm not going to buy into that. Oh God, got to get down the supermarket or the cash and carry and get 5,000 cans of tuna. I don't think it's going to get that bad. And then they were saying, all the ports in Shanghai are closed now, is what I noticed that was coming out last night. I haven't investigated that more. Ships can't get out of China because all the ports are closed in Shanghai. So fear-mongering, mate, isn't it?
Well, yeah, I mean, the only EBS right now that I think we need is Donald Trump's tweets, his mean tweets. I miss them. We need some of that back. What do you think?
Yeah, I used to go, how can he do that? But it was quite a funny thing, wasn't it? When you remember, before I knew who Trump really was, I was like, this guy's nuts. Look at the stuff he puts out. My son used to send it to me to crack up, and the markets would go like that and up and down. It's like a roller coaster. But I think that's one good thing about the people now. They can see how bad things have got with Biden. And the Biden administration is saying, it's because of Putin. It's because of Putin. It's because of Putin. No, it wasn't. Putin has nothing to do with the gas prices. You guys are buying it years in advance. The real problem with the fuel prices in America is when Biden got into power, he reversed all of these contracts that Trump had put in about the oil industry, pumping fuel, making their own gasoline, being more and more self-sufficient and not depending on crazy nations that might have a military coup or just up and change their mind about fulfilling the contracts. That was done on purpose as well, Nick. This is all one big plan. They knew what they were going to do. Cancel the gas production, and then when it goes up in price, we'll all make money. The people will say, we'll blame somebody else.
Absolutely. One good thing that, that Biden has done is that he's woken a lot of people up from his stupidity.
Yeah, I know.
And if Trump had just got in, then I think there'll be a lot of people still asleep because they will still be brainwashed with the old narrative. So sometimes I think, is this, when you look at his ears and you look at his behavior, is that really Biden? Is it,
I don't think so.
Is it a play we're watching? Is it theatrical? I don't know. But, from everything we've learned, anything can be possible, right?
Absolutely. I don't think it is the original Biden. I think he's been replaced. You see that all the time. Somebody put a picture of Britney Spears before, Britney Spears now. And the original Britney Spears, her hair used to grow on the side of her head, and this new one's growing right down the center of the middle. It's not just changing your parting, it's actually the point of where the hair grows on your head. So they've been doing this body double. The Queen, what we spoke about, this body double, it's been going on forever. Absolutely. I'd like to get one.
I mean, Jeffrey Epstein gets arrested, and then we have Prince Andrew asking to be testified and pays $12 million to clear his name. I mean, anything is possible now.
Yeah, I forgot about that case.
Anything is possible.
And then I saw that list of celebrities that all apparently committed suicide by hanging themselves on a door handle. David Carradine was one. The lead singer of In Excess. What's his name? Hutchins. Rick something. It's about 20 years ago. He was found dead on a doorknob as well, hung like that. And apparently he was going to expose a lot of big British political people for paedophilia. David Carradine was about to expose him. Robin Williams, they found Robin Williams hung with a necktie. It's always with a necktie, and they always hang you off a door handle. And there's at least 22 of them that have all been found like that, all about to expose what's been going on with the secret Hollywood parties behind the scenes with all the paedophile and all the kids and all the coke. So they keep killing him in the same way. It's to send a message to keep your mouth shut.
Absolutely. So, David, it's been an absolute honor to have you. Thank you so much. It's been great. Is there anything else that you'd like to say to the viewers before we finish?
Yeah, guys, just you can see if you want to get in touch, my details there, Mahoney Live. You're very welcome to come and see me every Tuesday and Friday. We're still doing the ivermectin and the HCQ, Nick, the meds from Mexico. We're still doing this. The people really want them. I thought it was going to stop 3 or 4 weeks, but no. So you can still get your ivermectin hydroxy. If you go on Mahoney Live, just scroll down. We're still shipping them all around the world. We're getting them through Australia, Canada. We find the sneaky little ways to get them through the customs, mate. So it's good. And I look forward to seeing you maybe in a couple of weeks in Birmingham. We were talking about that, no? Maybe.
Absolutely. We'll have to see, yes. Charlie Ward is doing an awakening tour in Birmingham. Please go to Charlie Ward's website and find that. It'll be amazing for you for all of you to be there. He will be speaking there. Anne van der Stil and Mel K will be speaking live on Zoom. And we'll have many other patriots there as well. And I will be hoping to make it for the dinner in the evening. So let's see how that goes. But thank you so much, David.
Thanks, Nick. Great. I'll speak soon, buddy. Appreciate it.
You too. Take care.
Bye-bye.